Hello ladies and gentlemen, Forrest Walpin here, and welcome back to another live stream. As you can tell from the title, today in this stream, I just got done doing a live reaction to Dragon Ball Z Abridged Season 4, as I would like to call it. But for this stream, I decided to go along with it, a live review of Dragon Ball Superhero. I bought this movie yesterday, and I watched it later that night, and dude, I got a lot of things to say. I got a good amount of things to say about this movie. Now, I want to preface this that I have seen the other Dragon Ball Super movie, that is Dragon Ball Super Broly. I even have the Blu-ray. It's in a box that's in my the room that I was in for up until recent times, up until the end of last year, and now that I'm in here since the very beginning of the year. But yeah, so I have seen that movie, so I know what I'm talking about in regard if I make any comparison to that movie. Yeah, this will be a non-spoiler review. For those that still want to watch this, I have yet to have seen it. But yeah, so real quick though, a little bit of a backstory. Dragon Ball Z, the precursor to this. Dragon Ball Z, like the Dragon Ball franchise I grew up with Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid, alongside Sailor Moon, the OG version, not the Sailor Moon Crystal, which is based on the manga, which follows more closely with the manga than anything else. But yeah, I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid, also, and a little bit of Dragon Ball GT, but nobody ever talks about that. And then the fact that we waited so long for Dragon Ball Super to be a thing, as well as the two movies. Yeah. So what do I think about this movie? I will tell you right now, this movie, before I watched it, I already made it known that I have bought this movie, and a few people told me that it was a good movie, right? And so I was, looking forward to checking it out just to see what it was like. Now that it's been a few years since it came out. But how do I feel about it, myself personally? I want to start it off by saying this was as good a movie as I'm pretty sure people were telling me it was. There were so many elements to it that I was like, wow, this is great, right? So let's get started with the first thing. Animation. One of the most important things about an animated show is, of course, how good was the animation. Well, unlike previous Dragon Ball movies, this one is actually 3D animated. It is a 3D animated movie, but it was so good. It was pretty good, and it was a pretty good solid animation on it. I think it's I think based on, like your typical 3D animated anime show or movie, I think this one actually did a pretty good job with it, with the animation style, right? The fights in this movie, were, I'm not going to say who fights who, but the fights in the movie were really good. I very much enjoyed them. And so, like, the fighting animation was really good. The fights in themselves were pretty good, if not, holy shit, what did we just witness kind of moments. But yeah. So, the story. I'm actually going to read, the back of it, because of course you can always read the back of a movie if you're curious to see with it. So like the little synopsis on the back says, descendants of the Red Ribbon Army's sinister leaders have renewed their quest for world domination as the two ultra-powerful androids seek their own brand of justice against Earth's heroes. Piccolo and Gohan must push their powers to new limits. And this was not kidding. That little blurb is not kidding. This movie, just like with Dragon Ball Super Broly, this movie focused on two particular characters. Unlike Broly, who only focused on Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, and mainly those three characters with a few background characters, a few of which were introduced to us, and two of which will return in this movie, by the way, if you're curious. Yeah, so that was the thing. And this movie focuses on just about everybody else. It focuses mainly on Piccolo and mainly Piccolo, but also with Gohan at some points, as well as every other character that was not Goku or Vegeta, or any of the other secondary characters that were shown on this. But yeah, so I thought this movie was like I said, I think this movie was a good movie. It had pretty good animation, had a good story, had some good fights in it as well. Now, of course, people will probably ask me how would I compare superhero with Broly? Personally, for me, as much as I like this movie, for me personally, Broly is in a few ways better than Superhero. Now, that's not to say that Superhero is a bad movie. I did enjoy watching it. In some parts, I interacted with in regard to saying something in regard to the movie. But I just feel like Broly, myself personally, I just feel like Broly is a little bit better. Because, for me personally, this was pretty much the Android Saga and the Cell Saga. You'll know why I say that if you watch this movie. In movie form. But in entirely different ways. That's why I'm trying not to spoil the movie. But to give you a bit of an insight, it does have a combination of the androids and the Cell Saga. Not the Cell Game Saga, but just the androids and Cell Saga. But even with that little tidbit, this is a really good movie, and I highly recommend watching it if you ever have a chance. My version of the movie, my copy of the movie, cost me $20 to get it at Walmart, and I even bought it alongside this movie right here, which I've already done a review on, but I might do another review on it just to see, more like a Blu-ray DVD review, just to see all the things that are on it, right? But yeah, so how would I rate Dragon Ball Dragon DBS the movie Superhero? I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. There were a lot of great moments, a lot of crazy moments, but for me, what kind of lowers it down a little bit, knocks it down a little bit, would be, up a bit, if I'm being honest with you, is the fact that it does kind of take certain elements outside of two of Dragon Ball Z's sagas and basically turn it into a movie. If they wanted to do that, they should probably just make a movie out of it where they focus mainly on the more important things. In this case, I don't think they the only difference is, as you can hear from the reason why I say this is so much like Dragon Ball Z's Android and Cell Saga, well, that's for something you guys are gonna have to take a look at. Because I personally would rather I like to see if people can tell with what I'm thinking of when I say, that this movie is basically a movie a movie version of the Android and Cell Saga, but they're all different. They're all either differently, they're all different. They're either different characters or a different design, right? Um, so how do I? So yeah, like I said, I would say this movie is an 8 out of 10. It is a great movie. Uh, the version that I got had a Blu-ray and DVD combo for $20. So that's basically $10 per. Um, that's basically $10 per disc on DVD or DVD and Blu-ray. Um, so yeah, I would give Dragon Ball Superhero an 8 out of 10. Just because, while I do think it's a good movie, it does borrow assets and storylines, specifically storylines with the Android and Cell Saga. If you want to know exactly what I'm talking about, I highly recommend watching the movie anyway, because I do think it's a good movie, but they could have did a bit of a different design um, here and there, but ultimately I enjoyed it. And there were moments where I was like, oh, dude, they're mad, or they're angry, or, oh, man, So, yeah. So, yeah, like I said, this was a quick review, I know, but I did say I was going to do a quick review when I first started out. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for me here tonight. I have to go to bed, but I decided to do this real quick for you guys. So, anyways, hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Uh, and so, with that all being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is Forrest Whirlpool signing off.